Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of 3 Point Weekly. The trade deadline is passed. The All-Star game is upon us, or past us by the time you're watching this, and we are officially on the home stretch of the NBA season. We have a bunch of things to talk about, a bunch of things to discuss, a bunch of things to debate. But I'm going to start with a question first for you, Tyrik, and I'll pass it on to Gabe afterwards. What's your biggest takeaway after the trade deadline? I know we haven't seen much of any moves or of any players on any significant teams. But is there any takeaways you have from the short sample size we've seen so far of any of the trade deadline moves?
I think my biggest takeaway is just like the East is so wide open. And even after the trade deadline, teams got better on paper, but I don't think anybody made a move, at least so far that we've seen, that has pushed them over the top. We're yet to see what James Harden looks like with Joel Embiid, and we're yet to see what the Brooklyn Nets look like. So I think the East is still super wide open. Like, that's my biggest takeaway. So this last stretch of the season is going to be very important, especially when it comes to, like, seeding and stuff. As for, like, some teams that look a lot better, the Boston Celtics, which I know we're going to talk about, they look a lot better, especially with the moves they made at the deadline. Derek White's looked very good for them. So they're another team that's added into the mix. Like, there's a legit 6-7 teams in the East that you can look at and be like, they can make a deep run, at least to the conference finals. So the East is wide open, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the year looks like for the conference.
They really got playoff or like play-in teams as like finals contenders at this point. Like, I'm sitting here looking at this conference. Beantown is back. I know they're in like the 6th spot right now, so they're out of it. But they could lose like 2 games. Toronto goes back to 6. And then say Boston ends up in the play-in. But if they get this hot again in the playoffs, then who's to say that they don't make a push for the finals? I mean, they got the stars to do so, and this team, ever since the trade deadline, still ain't lost, or might have lost once. But, yeah, they lost to the Pistons, I believe, which any given night, basically. But to be playing so well recently, like, I don't see how people thought they were going to split up the Jays. I've said always keep those two together and just give them a better supporting cast, one that fits with them better. And so far, the moves that they made have been working. They've been playing super well together. And that's really my biggest takeaway so far is just whatever they did, even though it was small moves, maybe just the couple of things they changed really put things in motion for success. I know the success started a little bit before the deadline, but really good things happening there. Everybody else has just been really the same, though. I mean, like Tyrik said, we haven't seen the fallout from the biggest trade of the deadline. Stuff like, I mean, probably the second biggest trade might have been Sacramento, Indiana, but neither of those teams are like contending for anything. So it's like, doesn't really matter that much either. Really just a lot to be seen. I feel like the West still kind of looks the exact same. It's just that strength and depth in the East is really, really strong.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Couldn't have said it any better. Only other thing I have to add to that is when Luka Doncic doesn't have a good supporting cast, he is utterly insane. That just continues to be shown. But the fact that he's having to do this much of a carry job this early on in the season probably doesn't bode well for the rest of the year in the playoffs for the Mavericks. But kudos to Doncic. He's been really good.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, to that point, like, they're just writing the same script from, like, the last 2 years. Like, Luka's going to be insane in the postseason. They're probably going to go against a team like Denver that's just better than them, and they're going to lose in 6 or 7 games. Like, that's the same script that we've seen the last 2 years, and it's probably going to happen again.
Which is crazy to say that because it's like you look at a team like Denver right now who they don't have their other stars back, so they're also like a one-star type offense. But they just seem to play like much more like free-flowing than the Mavericks do. And so even though both have one star, the Mavericks got to implement some sort of system where if they're not going to have the main secondary guy next to him, they got to alleviate some pressure off of Luka Doncic because if they don't, yeah, that team is going out early. And Luka's only going to get more frustrated. I know he's still young, but like you see players leaving earlier and earlier now. So Dallas better get their stuff together.
No, there's no reason why with Brunson and Dinwiddie there now they can't have a little bit of the pressure off of Doncic from a creation, from an on-ball standpoint. Sure, Doncic is still going to be your lead guy, but they should be able to balance some lineups out where Brunson and Dinwiddie are pretty much always on the court with Doncic if they want that to be the case. And he just shouldn't have that much pressure on him. Now, sure, Porzingis gone hurts, but I completely agree. They need a better system around him or that he's just going to continue to tire out. and they're just going to be continuing to be a middle of the pack Western Conference team. Moving
well,
along to
this is
more All-Star talk, though, unless you got anything else to add to that.
I was gonna say this is how you wear players down. You just put so much pressure on them. Like, I want to see Luka be a great player for a long time, and so just not even for like just his perspective, but like from my perspective as a fan, like, please, I know Spencer ain't even played yet, but they gotta do something because I don't want it to, like, my experience watching greatness to be cut short because he's so worn down and, like, say he starts to get some fatigue and say he gets injured in the playoffs. I hope he doesn't, but the like amount of stuff they're doing with him and how heavy his load is, like, you're only making that more of a possibility.
Yeah,
I think Dinwiddie's played a couple games. I think he's played a couple games so far, but
He has, okay.
I mean, even looking at his like game log, he hasn't really still not looking like Spencer Dinwiddie. But yeah, hopefully, I don't know. We'll see what the offseason looks like for the Mavericks. I think that's what they're probably trying to set themselves up for. But the pressure is definitely going to continue to heighten because he's too talented to not have at least some type of supporting cast around him. We're seeing like the Atlanta Hawks have tried to build around Trae Young. Memphis Grizzlies are building around John Morant. Dallas hasn't really done that. I mean, they're just kind of putting complementary pieces around Luka, but not guys that are, upper level talents, which they need to do that within the next year or two. Otherwise, another first round exit, like Luka's going to continue to be frustrated with that.
Yeah, and they tried to take their shot with Kristaps Porzingis. They thought he was going to be the number 2, and it hasn't hit. And since then, it's just kind of been the same story for the last few years. On to some All-Star talk. We talked a little bit about Chris Middleton being nominated a week or two ago. The guy that you guys both had in instead of Chris Middleton has finally got his nod. Jared Allen was named as the replacement for James Harden. Deserving All-Star. Good addition, especially given the All-Star game is in Cleveland. But quickly, what's your thoughts on Jared Allen getting into his first All-Star appearance? And it's nice to see Cleveland getting 2 All-Stars for their home All-Star game as well.
You can go ahead first, Gabe.
I got real short thoughts here. It's about time. I think we've all known he's deserved it the entire season. This team has been great, and obviously Garland is like the spark plug of the offense, but this team is good on offense and defense, and the guy who's the spark plug of the defense is Jared Allen. So I think he was just as deserving as anybody. Obviously, that team is still like top 4 in the West, right, or in the East, when they had no expectations. So for how heavy they've overachieved and how much he factors into that, happy to finally see it happen.
It's crazy that a lot of people's first memories of Jared Allen is like, I think he blocked LeBron. I don't know if it was a preseason game or regular season, but he blocked LeBron, which nobody does, at the rim. And now to see him turn into an All-Star, it's good to see, man, especially in Cleveland, them getting 2 All-Stars. If I'm not mistaken, they're all on Team LeBron. So even LeBron's the hometown kid. So that's pretty dope to see. But he deserves it. The Cavs, I mean, we've been talking all year about how incredible they've been. So I'm glad to see that they got, 2 All-Stars, especially with the game being in Cleveland. Shout out to them.
Speaking of All-Star replacements, me and Gabe were talking about this a little bit before the podcast. I don't think there will be a replacement named, assuming that Zach LaVine is not participating in all All-Star festivities. But assuming that there was a replacement that would be named, I want to hear first from the Boston Celtic fan. Given that there is a potential Boston Celtic that could be named as the replacement, who would you have as the replacement for Zach LaVine if there was to be an All-Star replacement named? I'm
going JB. The only thing that separates him from Pascal right now, the Celtics are better. That's what I'm gonna say. The Celtics are better because Pascal he's been incredible, but I'm gonna take my guy because my team is just 1 spot ahead of y'all. So I'm gonna take JB. But I heard Zach LaVine is participating because he's still in the 3-point shootout. So as far as we know, he's good to go, apparently.
Man, as much as I hate to say it, I feel like it'd probably be JB as well. I love Pascal. I think Pascal might be a little bit more consistent than JB, but I feel like JB probably has a little bit higher highs. And then even like just from the sense of who do I predict would get in if it would be a thing, my gut tells me that like the media or whoever picks it, coaches even, I feel like there's just more attention on Jaylen Brown most of the time. And I feel like he's definitely held in more of a positive light. And so, especially given the recency of how good the Celtics have been, I think it'd be him as well, realistically.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I'd love for it to be Siakam, but Celtics are ahead in the standings. Browns played more games. Brown's definitely regarded in a more positive light than Siakam is. Definitely gets more media attention because that's just the nature of being in Toronto. But he'd be deserving. He's had a very solid season again.
I got a
But
question
yeah,
for y'all.
good to see
I
that
got a
Levine
question.
will hopefully be playing.
Yeah,
I think me and Gabe were talking about this in class the other day. Is there a possibility that Pascal could get more All-NBA attention than even All-Star game attention? Because if you look at the forward pool, it's really not that deep in the NBA. So it's a good possibility like Pascal might get some heavy consideration for All-NBA this year.
Yeah, he probably will. He'll probably have at least have more general discussion in All NBA than he will in the All Star selection. I would expect so if he continues to play the way he has been.
I mean, off the bat, you got LeBron, you got KD. Assuming KD's not out like too crazy long, I assume he'll like be there enough to be on there. You got Giannis, of course. You got probably Jason Tatum's definitely going to be on there. That's already like the first two teams taken up, and I'm probably still forgetting somebody. I don't know if DeRozan will be on there as a guard or a forward because he was an all-star as a guard. But as far as, that forward pool, there could definitely, like, Pascal could make a run at a third-team spot.
I think he could. Like, it's possible, especially like Devin said, depending on how the second half of the season goes for him, that could be a big proponent on if he gets in, or not. But I'm just glad to see him playing good basketball again. Last year wasn't like terrible, but it was like his lows just seemed so low. Like people were really dogging him, especially on social media. So I'm just happy to see him back to playing at this high level again.
Let me not forget Jimmy Butler too. He'll probably be on there. So
yeah,
if Pascal was to make it, it'd definitely be one of those third-team spots. But he could make a push for one of those last two.
He'll definitely be in the discussion for sure. Going back to Jaylen Brown and the Boston Celtics, let's talk a little bit more about the Celtics for a little bit here before we jump on to a bit of a different topic here. And Boston, as we mentioned earlier, have just been on a great run. They've got themselves up into the 6th seed after a fairly slow and inconsistent start. A bit of it's trade deadline, a bit of it's just since about a month to a month and a half into the season, the defense has really picked up and has just continued from there. I want to get your thoughts first, Tyrik, as someone who probably watched Boston a lot more than both of us do. What have you been seeing from Boston as of late that's really been the difference in what's made them be a fine team to a team that now looks like a team that can probably contend to make a deep push in the Eastern Conference?
The main thing is, like you said, the defense has been off the charts. I think since Christmas, this is I think they're the best defensive team in basketball, like as far as defensive rating goes. A lot of that's like really Robert Williams, Marcus Smart, those guys really hold it down for this team defensively. And I'm also impressed with like how Jason Tatum's been defending. He seems like he's taking more pride on that side of the floor. Jaylen Brown's always been a good on-ball defender. And adding Derek White's just another versatile defender who just brings, a winning type of mentality to this team. And also having Al Horford. Like this team is really bought in defensively because the early part of the season, you look at this team and you're like, they have all the capabilities of being a good defensive team, but they were getting scores on that side of the floor. Like they couldn't stop anybody. The only questions I still have, like the offense, still not super fluid. Like they have nights where they do play really well offensively, like against Philly the other night. But then they have games like against Detroit where the offense just isn't there. It's a lot of one-on-one, no ball movement. They got to kill those habits because once you get to postseason basketball, you can't have those dry spells offensively, like going 6-7 minutes without a bucket because that'll come to hurt you, and then you lose a game, you love 2 games, and then all of a sudden the series is over and you're going home. But I am impressed with this last 11-game stretch with how the team's been playing. It's definitely a lot of good habits that I think can continue to go forward.
Yeah, it's definitely been a good run by Boston. Like you said, like when I looked at this team early on in the year, bare minimum, this looked like a team that should be a top 5 defense in the NBA. And they've been that and more over the last, since you said, like around Christmas or so. That's the biggest thing for them. If they can have a little bit more fluidity to their offense, that's going to be very good for them. But as we've mentioned in previous podcasts, they don't really have that great, very good, or even above average playmaker. They just have some average playmakers around Tatum and Brown. And that might be that key piece that really unlocks a bit more fluidity. But even still, if they can have a little bit more fluidity to that offense, that really is when that offense can be a little bit more electric. But if they can continue to have one of the best defenses in the league, I mean, defense wins in the playoffs. We know that. And you need an offense alongside it. But if the Celtics can continue to be as good defensively as they have been, there's no reason why they can't continue to succeed.
Which, in defense of their, slow start, I heard Jason Tatum talking yesterday on JJ Redick's podcast. He even said, they asked him about it, and he was like, yeah, it is hard to maintain that consistency and, have continued success with so much front office turnover, so much roster turnover. Just like him and Jalen are barely playing with the same pieces. Marcus Smart's pretty much been there the whole time since 2018, but so much turnover, especially from the guard positions,
New head coach as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean with the front office turnover. So many different pieces, and especially when you've had Brad there for basically both of their entire careers. So them having to adjust to a new coach and a new system for the first time, it probably took a minute, especially without that main facilitator. But it seems like they're finally getting it. So maybe Ime Udoka, he might have left the bad first impression, but he could be turning it around.
Yeah, I still got some questions about him, but he is a rookie head coach. So I'm trying to be a little more lenient with him, but he's definitely showed some improvements. They're closing games out a little bit better, even though they kind of melted down against Detroit the other night. But they're closing games better. It's looking a lot better down the stretch, which is important because early on in the season, this team just could not close games to save their lives. So steadily improving. We'll see how the second half of the season goes. I think it's going to be important for them to come out the gate strong because, like we mentioned, the Eastern Conference is so tight. If you lose 2 games, you can drop down to the 8th seed. That's just how close it is right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a crapshoot down there. I mean, the Wizards are 10.5 games back of the 1 seed. Then they're only a game behind the Hawks, game behind the Hornets. There's only a 2.5 game gap between the Hornets and the Nets, and then a 2 game gap between them and the Raptors. And the Celtics are only a half game ahead. It's still so tight in there. Anything from the Wizards up can change pretty quickly. So it's on teams to continue to play well, but the Celtics have been at the lead of that front over the last few weeks, and they'll look to continue that after the All-Star break. Speaking of some teams that are hoping to continue their success in the Eastern Conference, we saw a few small moves as the start of the buyout market is starting to occur now. DeAndre Bembry signed with the Milwaukee Bucks throughout the course of the week as they are trying to add a bit more depth. A good move for them after some of the trades they made at the deadline and some of the injuries that have happened for them over the last couple of weeks. And we also saw Tristan Thompson sign with the Chicago Bulls. They've been interested in rumors of signing some depth bigs over the course of the season. Tristan Thompson ends up being the guy for them, and ultimately now Tony Bradley doesn't have to be the main backup center for them. Any quick thoughts on those 2 signings?
This is what buyout markets are. It's just it's not going to be any needle mover players, obviously. 99% of the time, you're not going to get some crazy game changer. But just having extra bodies to throw out there when, say, a man goes down for a couple weeks and you just need somebody to kind of step in and fill a role, keep the ship afloat, It's just good pickups. Obviously, they're went to contending teams that needed people at that position. So they'll serve a purpose. And I don't know if they'll get impactful playoff minutes, but they'll fill a role during their certain stretches.
I think for the Bulls, I think Tristan Thompson, that's a cool move because I think he's better than Tony Bradley right now. He's a vet. He's been in championship situations. So that's definitely a quality move. You didn't have to give up anything to get him, which I think is good for them because everything surrounding their trade talks and stuff was Patrick Williams involved, which I'm not really a big fan of giving him up so early on in his career. So I think this is a cool move. And the DeAndre Bembry move, I think Milwaukee, they went into Phoenix and they realized we kind of miss PJ Tucker a little bit, so we just need to get some quality perimeter defenders on this team. And he's that. He'll be able to come in, just provide good minutes on the defensive side of the floor. Like Gabe said, it's not like a needle-moving type of move, but it's quality. You're just shoring up things around the edges. So they're cool moves. I think the big name in the buyout market that we're waiting to see is what happens with Goran Dragic. That's the big thing.
I hope he goes to the Mavs, bro. I know I keep harping on the Mavs over and over, but please, just get another playmaker.
Do they need another guard now, though? After
No,
they had
that's what I'm
Dinwiddie?
saying too.
They, bro,
Like
okay.
before getting
With
Dinwiddie,
how
maybe.
bad Spencer Dinwiddie has been, if he continues to play like trash, like then yeah.
But we also haven't seen Goran Dragic really play basketball all year. He's played like what, 2 games?
Goran Dragic played one good game of basketball this year. Now, given he
Right,
didn't
well,
care about how he played, presumptively and visually, it's how he expressed himself on the court. But
come on, bro. Okay, but he played international ball with Luka. They already know how to play together.
That's true.
I
They might
think
as well
he'd
go
be a
ahead and
fine
get
fit. But like, if I'm the Mavs and I'm trading away Porzingis, my main piece I get back is Dinwiddie, and then I'm like actively looking to bring in Dragic. That doesn't look great for trading away Porzingis, and you don't even trust the main centerpiece you got back. I guess I know it's not a great trade, and Dinwiddie hasn't been great, but that doesn't bode well, and it doesn't give Dinwiddie much confidence that he's going to be an important piece of the team. So,
and
I
then you
mean,
already got Jalen Brunson.
if he's not playing like an important piece of the team, then what? I feel like you become a better team, and that's the point of the buyout market, is just to become like a better team. And we're like, I don't even know where else he could go that would really need him more than the Mavericks do, because they still don't have playmaking. Maybe
The
Boston.
Bucks. The Bucks. I
but
think the Bucks would be amazing. Backup point guard. I think he's actually, I don't want to disrespect George Hill. George Hill's cool. He's cool right now. But his ceiling is probably be better than George Hill's right now. At that age, I think that would be a perfect move. Especially a team last year, their backup point guard minutes were so bad in the playoffs. Like it's really a testament to how good Giannis was in the finals that they were able to win that series, because Jeff Teague was not doing a damn thing for them. He was terrible.
was. Yeah, George Hill is fine, but he's definitely beyond his best days of being a solid backup point guard for a team that has as much aspirations as the Bucks do.
Maybe he goes back to Miami.
It's not out of the question.
If he goes back to Miami, they fleeced Kyle Lowry. They fleeced the Raptors.
They did.
They'd have to do a tampering investigation at that point.
Thanks.
Like, bro, you cannot trade a man away. He gets bought out his first season away and just comes right back. Like, at least D Wade was away from Miami for a year and a half.
At least y'all got a pick though for did y'all? No, you had to give up a pick.
Ooh. Yeah, we gave up a pick. We got back a second. We'll end up trading down like 15, 20 spots in the draft, something like that. Because it's Detroit's second round pick, so it'll be a high second. But
I think we thought Precious was going to be a little bit more than Precious was.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I was really high on Precious. I still am, but not as high as I was.
What I'm going to say about Precious, he's still super young. Like, I think
he is.
He was a one and done, if I'm not mistaken. So he's like, what, 20, 21? He's still crazy young. We need to slow down on judging prospects so quickly after just a year and a half. We got to pump the brakes just a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I mean, Anthony Simons is a pretty good example of that right now. Year 4 breakout year.
Hey.
He's been brilliant.
Hey, don't get me started on the Trailblazers. I'm gonna start this trade Dame talk all over again.
Bro, I'm driving the ship, but Dame keeps coming out saying like just how loyal he is. And man, if he likes it, I love it, man. Just go ahead, be the best Portland Trailblazer player of all time. If that's what makes you happy, go ahead. I'm done talking about Dame trade talks. I'm done looking at articles about potential moves. If he's happy in Portland, just let him be happy in Portland. And we're just not going to pay you any mind because you're not going to win anything there.
Clyde Drexler made the finals. That's all I'm saying.
Even Clyde knew when.
Bro, Bill Walton won the finals.
But
Dame's like third at this point.
He did, but I don't know. Dame's probably going to have all the like scoring records and stuff, assist records. He's going to have a bunch of records. And that one conference finals appearance, it might hold a little bit more weight than
that's like
Clyde's finals appearance.
That's like saying who's a better Raptor, like Kawhi or DeMar.
That's actually probably a debate in some people's eyes.
In some people's eyes, yeah. It shouldn't be, but it is to some.
I don't know. Kawhi did some special things in just 1 year.
He did.
That's the best 1 year rental ever. That is the best 1 year rental ever. That's crazy.
That is definitely the best 1 year rental in NBA history. But yeah, I don't think people like truly appreciate how important DeMar re-signing multiple times in Toronto was. Like, I don't think they're anywhere near where they are at or have the opportunity to acquire Kawhi otherwise. Because like,
Hey,
no one that was an all-star before then was staying. I mean, literally no one.
Exactly.
Like,
we
it
thought Toronto
completely
was the
changed the
best. Man,
course of the franchise. Completely changed.
we really thought Toronto was the best of DeMar DeRozan. Now we look goofy.
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
think him going to San Antonio really helped, but them DeMar like 2016, 2017, 18, he was going crazy. Like
He was.
the only reason why Toronto was not reaching like the finals is because of LeBron. Like LeBron just dominated the East for so long, and that's really no like fault to anybody. Like it's just LeBron. He was really turning everything into gold in the Eastern Conference. Like nobody can mess with him. So
There's a reason no one else in the East was pushing to make a contender for a couple of years. Like it
yeah,
was Toronto kind of trying, and then it was the Cavs winning everything, and no one else cared to try because they just knew LeBron was just that
exactly.
good.
Thanks.
At the time of recording this, the All-Star Skills Dunk Contest, 3-point contest are all just ahead of us. You'll know the results by the time you're watching this. But ultimately, we are going to try and predict a few All-Star awards and All-Star champions from Dunk Contest, 3-point contest, Skills Challenge, and All-Star Game MVP, and just talk a little bit about the All-Star Game in general. So we'll start with the 3-point contest. One of the 3-point contests that I would argue in recent memory doesn't have a clear-cut favorite. There isn't a Steph. There isn't a Clay. There isn't one of those perennial clear-cut guys that you would think of winning it. But there's some really good shooters in here that you can make a lot of arguments about either way. I'm going to go to Gabe first, but who do you have for your pick as the 3-point contest winner?
Listen, real quick. If all of our predictions are like terrible, like if we have the worst predictions of all time, and this episode drops on a Monday afternoon, and you see that we obviously have no idea what we're talking about, I think the title for this like video has to be the coldest takes of all time. Like, get prepared for some clickbait because I might say some outlandish stuff and it might age very badly. So I'm gonna take Zach LaVine. Give me Zach simply because they've been hyping it up like, oh, he could be the first player to win the dunk contest and the 3-point contest. I think that would be dope. Like that's obviously like All-Star Weekend is All-Star Weekend. Like it's just a fun thing. That's still some cool history to have though. Like I feel like people will remember that. It'll just add another like accolade and another thing that makes Zach LaVine special as a player. And also he's just a great shooter. Like he's a very, very good shooter. I feel like he's used to like obviously with the dunk contest, he's used to that like All-Star Weekend, that like anxiety or the nerves. Like he's got that under control. So I think he'll be ready to go. And I feel like he can do it pretty consistently as well.
I'm torn on Zach because he jumps so high and shooting from a rack like that, like that's just gonna like add more time to his, his trial run. So I don't know, Zach. That's an interesting one. That's a hot pick. I ain't gonna lie.
Hasn't he been in the contest before though?
I think he has.
That's what I mean. So he'll come back better. He knows how to shoot from the rack now.
Okay. That's a fair pick. I'm gonna go with Luke Canard. I think he's probably like he's the most pure shooter here. Like he's the most pure shooter on this list. He is paid to shoot jump shots. He's paid for it. And I think he's like probably the best spot-up shooter too on this list, in my opinion. So I'm gonna take Luke Canard. It's in Ohio kid from Gabe's hometown.
Hey,
I'm gonna go with Luke Canard, man. I think Luke's gonna take this one.
if Luke Canard wins, maybe there's some hope for me, man. We were born. I think we were born in the same hospital. So if Luke Canard wins, I might have some of that shooting might have rubbed off on me. I gotta get these hands ready.
I'm just saying, I'm usually very good at picking like the 3-point shootout winners. When Kyrie won it, I picked him. When Buddy Hield won it in 2020, I picked him. Who won it last year? I don't really remember.
Joe Harris got one of them.
And yeah, Joe Harris.
Didn't Devin Booker win one? Because he made like a million in a row.
He beat Steph and Clay, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He beat Steph and Clay in that one. So yeah, I'm pretty good at picking the 3-point shootout winner. So Put your money on Luke Canard. That's what I'm gonna tell y'all. Put y'all's money on Luke Canard.
Hey, like I said, title of the video, the worst age cold takes of all time.
He's saying that he's gonna be the good guy to take all the picks. He's saying you should trust him. So just remember that down in the comment section.
Yeah.
He's instilling the confidence. Let's see if he's right. Let's see if he's right. I got Patty Mills. I think after Luke Canard, for me, he's one of the purest shooters in the competition. Man's been shooting for over 10 years now in the NBA. He knows how to get his shots. He's confident in his shot. Man knows when to ball out in the right moment. When he plays for his country, he's amazing. All-star front, it's a special opportunity. I think he's going to ball out and get himself the three-point contest champion. There's a lot of good guys here, though. There's a lot of good guys, and I want Freddie to win, but I don't think Freddie's going to win. So
I was going to say, do y'all got like a dark horse guy that you think could win, but you're just not going to pick them?
Desmond Bane, just because I never pick like a non-guard to win it unless it's like a Joe Harris who's like a small forward, but he plays like that classic spot-up shooting guard. So I don't know, man. Desmond Bane, he's not like that traditional molded player that you would expect to win it, but just to continue the Memphis Grizzlies and the Desmond Bane personal breakout train, he might steal it.
I think Freddie's interesting. When I'm looking at this, I look at the way like people shoot. Like Desmond Bane's a good pick because his shot's just so effortless. Freddie, he puts a lot of arc on his shot. Like that's what makes it kind of interesting. Like with him in this competition, I think Trae Young could mess around and win this. I don't know why. I don't know if Trae's been in the competition before, but I feel like he's a guy that could win this. And also, you said you don't like picking like non-guards. I think Cat's another interesting guy in this competition. The first center ever. Cat might have something special. He says he's the best shooting big of all time, man. Has his chance to prove it here.
Yeah, I feel like we're just shading CJ now. Like we basically mentioned everybody but him, but I feel like Trae, you would come in, you say, oh, Trae Young. Oh, yeah, he'd be pulling from 40 feet. But Trae Young's kind of inconsistent. So it's like, yes, he definitely could come out and win it. If he's hot, yeah, he could take it easily. But if he is cold, that's true. Why he's not like – if I'm making a prediction, say I had to put money on it, I'm not putting money on Trae Young to win a three-point contest. But would I be surprised if he came away with the win? Not at all.
That's true, but at the same time, all of his three-pointers are basically taken off the dribble. Like, I'm sure like a heavy percentage of them are off the dribble threes. Him in the spot-up situation, I feel like that's just money, bro. He has some of just like the most nice, most set, pure form that you can see in a shooter. And we just don't get to see that because he's always shooting off the pick and roll and stuff. I don't know. I think it's interesting. But as far as CJ, that's my boy. But I just don't know. I feel like he's low-key the odd man out on this list. I'm not going to lie to y'all. He's kind of the odd guy out.
Shout out to CJ, though. He's been really good since he started in New Orleans as the lone guard. So shout out to him.
Yeah, when they beat my Raptors by 30 points.
Yeah, we don't talk about that game.
CJ.
We don't talk about that game. CJ. Well done to CJ, but after that, we don't talk about it.
Thanks.
Moving along to the skills challenge, we got the three themed teams this year, the Rooks, Team Cavs, and Team Antetokounmpos. Those are consisting of Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham, and Josh Giddey for the rookies, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley for the Cavs, and while Team Antetokounmpos is the three Antetokounmpos. I got the Rooks. Scotty's my guy. I think that's really good all-around skill talent between those three. Bright lights for the Rooks, sure. But I think all around they have the best skill set. I think they have the better all around rounded skill set than the Antetokounmpo squad. And as much as I like the Cavs group, I like the skill set from an all around standpoint of all three of Giddey, Cunningham, and Barnes than I do Jared Allen. So ultimately, I'm going to go with the Rooks for this one. I'll let you give your thoughts on this one, Gabe.
I think the rookies are the best passers. And then probably from a shooting perspective, it's probably also the rookies. But I don't know, bro. If there was a roundabout being a great hype man, I think Thanasis would take the MVP here. But that's not around in the competition. So I think definitely, like, the crowd could gas up Team Cavs and they could take it away because, it's All-Star Weekend. It's fun. You feel that crowd behind you. You just get like, oh, yeah, let me hit that. But also, they could just not take it serious because they're having so much fun. I think the rookies might steal it because I don't know. Them young guys, they kind of come out in the All-Star stuff. You see, at the time of recording, like, Cade's team has already won the Rising Stars Challenge. So, like, he came to play on All-Star Weekend. He might come out again and put in some work.
So y'all both taking the rookies?
Sure am.
Hey, unless there's a roundabout hype. If there's a roundabout bench hype, I'm taking on to the Kumpos.
Y'all might see a theme here in my picks. I'm taking the hometown guys, man. I'm taking the hometown guys. I'm confused though. How is this working? Are they like is one player going to do the dribbling and then the passing at the end, and then is one the full court sprint layup? Like, are they just like trading it off, basically?
I don't know if that's how they're doing it or if they each all have to do it once. I'm not exactly sure how it works.
Interesting. Either way, I'm taking the Cavs. I think they got that team chemistry, man. They're a unit. They're playing so well together. They got the home crown behind them. It's Cleveland. It's Ohio. They're taking this one, man. Darius Garland, Jared Allen, they're all stars. Evan Mobley.
Hey, you better hope Jared Allen don't got to make a three.
Hey, he can hit them though. He just doesn't take them a lot, but he can hit them. Might look a little weird. Might bank it in. I remember he banked one in against the Raptors, if I'm not mistaken, early on in the season, which was the weirdest thing.
Hey, you're getting real slanderous right now.
I was going to say, we're bringing back a lot of bad Raptors memories. We got to stop this.
I think if you start talking about Jeremy Lamb later in the episode, I'm
just ending the recording then. That's it. Man. It's over.
But yeah, I gotta take the Cavs, man, the hometown guys. I think they're gonna pull this one off. But that rookie team does look a little scary. They definitely seem the most well-rounded unit for sure.
They're all triple-double threats. Scotty Barnes maybe a little bit less just because of touches, but that boy can pass.
They all look good in that Rising Stars game last night, or the little challenge, whatever it was now, since it's like a tournament. They all look good. Scotty looked pretty good, except in that little shootout competition. That was crazy.
Come on, bro. Come on.
Hey, that was funny though. But he looked good in the game. Cade looked good too, but at the end of the first game, it looked like he was trying to sell. Like, it looked like he was trying to lose. It was so funny.
He was just following the script, man.
Detroit, man, tanking.
Casey's just got it instilled. He knows what to do. Unless they're against the Raptors, then he knows to actually turn up.
Oh, for sure. And the Celtics, apparently.
Apparently. Moving on to the slam dunk competition, Cole Anthony, Jalen Green, Obi Toppin, and Juan Toscano Anderson are the four candidates for this year's competition. Not necessarily some of the high-profile names that some people always hope to have for the slam dunk competition. There's usually always 5 or 10 names across the league that everyone wants, but I think it still has potential to be a fairly exciting slam dunk contest. I'll pass this one off to you, Tyrik, to start, but who's your favorite for the slam dunk competition?
Like you said, I think like the low expectations could make this a better competition, because I feel like even the years when we didn't expect greatness, like we got the Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine. I don't remember going into that seeing that like as this is going to be one of the best ever. I was just like, this could be interesting just because of Zach LaVine, but it ended up being probably the best ever. So this competition could be good. With that being said, I'm taking another Ohio guy. He went to college in Ohio. I'm taking Obi Toppin.
I knew you were about to say that. Man. I knew you were about to say that, bro.
I feel like Jalen Green's probably the favorite. Like, a lot of people think of him because he's like young. He has a lot of flair. I'm taking Obi, man. He does some in-game stuff that some guys can't do in dunk contests. I'm taking Obi Toppin, bro. Shout out to the University of Dayton.
Bro, I was sitting here. I was looking at the pool. I was thinking of who I was going to pick. I was like, bro, there ain't no way Tyrik don't pick Obi Toppin. He's about to be like, oh, the hometown kid. He went to UD.
You feel me? Hey, gotta take him.
Yo, I feel like the bigs never win the dunk contest though. No matter what, like
it's tough.
The first one out is gonna be Juan Toscano Anderson. I hate to say it, he's gonna be the first one out. Like, I think that's almost guaranteed. The finals. I can see Obi Toppin making a run at the finals. But Cole Anthony and Jalen Green both bring a lot to the table. Like, I don't know. Cole Anthony just seems like that dude who he would just pull out something that you didn't know he had. Like, he seems like he'll be surprising, but then Jalen Green also, he's got balance too. So it's like real hard to pick. But if I had to make a safe pick, I'd probably go with Jalen Green. I think he'll have that hype behind him. I think he'll just come in, have fun. Like I said, the rookies come to play on All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, I agree with your initial point, Tyrik. Like having lower expectations for this slam dunk competition could definitely make it more interesting, more exciting. Like I remember when Aaron Gordon came back after the phenomenal Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine dunk contest. And I feel like everyone was just disappointed because regardless of what he was going to do, the expectations were just so high. No one was going to be happy with what happened. He came out with the drone and tried to pull off these unique dunks. But this is now a contest where there's not that high profile name. And I think it is going to have a little bit more intrigue because of it. I'm also going with the hometown connection of Obi Toppin. I think he's just better. Personally, I truly just believe him to be the better athlete for dunks in this competition. His extra size and length, I think, is going to allow him to be able to have a little bit more creativity and a little bit more diversity with some of his attempts. A hometown guy. I haven't been on the train, but I'm on the train for this one.
Hey, real quick. Can y'all tell me who won the dunk contest last year?
Yes.
Definitely not.
Anthony Simons.
It happened. Like, I swear they always win it, and then they become the guy. And then every year the dunk contest happens, and they're like, oh, there ain't nobody in it. It's because they're so young, they're not the guy yet. Even, like, to an extent, Donovan Mitchell, when he was in the dunk contest, he was not the Donovan Mitchell of today. Now, sometimes you do get like a Glenn Robinson or like Hamidou Diallo, like guys that don't for real pan out like that. Derrick Jones Jr. is just an anomaly. That guy just lives to dunk.
Thanks.
But you might see like one of these guys might win it and you'll be like, oh, whatever. But then in a year or two, he might be nice. That's why I feel like Cole Anthony for real got a chance here because he's the guy that I could see just coming out in like a year or two and all of a sudden being nasty.
I mean, he's been pretty good this year too. So
he just don't get talked about because he's in Orlando, but he's been good.
He's like right on that level of like he's like right next to a breakout season, like right there.
Kind of like how I think Darius Garland was last year. Like rookie year was up and down. Second year was a lot better, but nobody really knew like what he was doing. And then that third year could be a big jump. Who knows? Maybe we'll be talking about the Magic next year. Maybe.
Maybe.
Another step for Anthony, another step for Franz Wagner. See what happens with Mo Bamba this summer. It's not another question.
I almost wanted to pick Cole because Carolina guy. I think that would probably be my second guy to pick, but I don't know. I just feel like Obi's really going to surprise some people, man, because the dunks, if you look at his college highlight reel, dude, like kind of it's like shades of like Amari Stoudemire meeting Blake Griffin, like just power, athleticism. It's crazy. So I think he's going to surprise some people, man. And we see what he does East Base in game, like it's nothing. So imagine what he's going to do with this preparation to, put on a show in the dunk contest. I got high expectations for him, man. I hope he doesn't let me down.
I do too.
Hopefully the Knicks will finally win something this year, man.
Yeah. Now, we back to taking shots at the Knicks now. Is that a thing again?
Just this one time. Because we just gave a lot of love to Obi, so
respect.
It's like
gotta balance it out.
You give some, you take some.
Respect, man. But about Juan Toscano Anderson, I just don't see him as a dunker. Like it's just like that's a weird name to be thrown in there. I hope he surprises me with something that I just didn't expect him to do, but I just don't see him as like a dunker.
I think he had a nice poster. Like he is a solid contact dunker.
In-game dunker for sure. Like, yeah, he can definitely throw it down on somebody, but like I just don't see him like having something in his bag for a dunk contest.
Yeah, it doesn't really catch me as that guy either. Definitely an in-game dunker, I agree, but doesn't really seem like a dunk contest guy.
Seems like we passed the window to have Ja versus Zion in the dunk contest, and I'm so sad.
Ja, Zion, Anthony Edwards. That would be a nice little dunk contest. Who would y'all take in that? I'm interested. Who would y'all take?
Ja versus Zion versus Ant.
We'll throw
That
in.
is tough.
Who's another good young dunker? Miles Bridges is pretty good.
I would go with – I think I would probably go with Ja because the big usually doesn't win it, so Zion would probably fall out. And then most of Miles Bridges' big dunks, I feel like, are like contact dunks, like posters. And Ant's kind of the same way. Like Ant's biggest dunk of his career. Talking about Raptors lowlights again. But hey,
I would actually
also
take
like
Ant.
a poster dunk. I feel like Ja's the king of the almost poster. But I feel like you see like John like pregame warmups and stuff. He does some outlandish stuff.
I think I would actually take Ant. I think I would. Just for
His
like the
bounce
same
is
like
insane. I don't blame you.
he might be the best vertical athlete, and he has like power on his dunks. So I think that adds a lot. And he's just like he's like a performer, bro. Like he's like a real deal performer. So I think he would like put on a show in the dunk contest.
Yeah, I can't
He's
disagree
got
with
like a
that.
top 5 personality. I think it's like almost unanimously Anthony Edwards is a top 5 personality in the league.
He's one of my
100%.
favorite paplayers just based off of like his post game interviews. Like he's top tier. Like I know y'all seen when he was ordering McDonald's. He's ordering McDonald's after dropping like 25. That was hilarious.
Yeah, definitely. He's got a really good personality. I'd probably have to go with Ja, but you could go with Ant. You could go with anyone in that. I don't think you can really have a wrong pick. They're all
Yeah, I think the real winner is us.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Nice. I definitely miss when there used to just be like guys that you just knew were going to put on a show, like the Vince Carters, the Jason Richardsons. It kind of got watered down for a little bit, came back kind of, but man, I miss
Even
the
when you
days
had
when it was
like
like we knew
Paul
it was going to be a
George,
show.
like Paul George, DeMar DeRozan, Blake Griffin, like John Wall, even those like early 2010 era dunk contests had a lot of like rising stars there.
Yeah. We definitely had a couple years where it was like, this is just bad. Like, this is not really that entertaining. But I think it's because guys set the bar so high in the past, man. So it's like every dunk has already been done, it seems like.
There's only so many different dunks you can
16,
do.
17 was the worst. 16, 17 was definitely the worst.
Who was in that? I don't even remember who was in that contest.
It's the one that like Glenn Robinson won, and it was like the year. It was the year after like Gordon Levine. So then the expectations were super high because I think Gordon went back into it, and the only thing I remember from him in that dunk contest was doing something with like a drone or something.
That was
that was 2017. Yeah, that was Glenn Robinson, Derrick Jones Jr., DeAndre Jordan, and Aaron Gordon.
DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, DeAndre Jordan was in it. I think.
God.
Yeah, Aaron Gordon was definitely the favorite, and he sold. But then people were like, "Oh, Derrick Jones Jr. He barely even gets minutes," and he kind of put on a show too. I mean, as we saw, he won a dunk contest like 2 years later. So
Aaron Gordon, he got robbed that year for sure. Derrick Jones Jr.'s dunks were good, but it was just like he kept doing the same dunk, just different like variations of it. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
Hey, Michael Jordan won dunk contest doing the same dunk, so that's all I'm saying. No big shade, but a little bit of shade.
It's the way it is sometimes. It's the nature of the All-Star game. There's always going to be some controversial things if people actually want to take the crowning of the dunk contest serious. But as long as we get a few cool dunks out of it, that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
Hey, man, Devin. Oh, wait, Tyrik, were you about to ask a question?
I was, but what were you about to say?
Oh, no, I was about to move on to something like a little different. So
I was
you got something about the
ask,
dunk?
I was going to ask, like, who's y'all's favorite dunker ever? Whether it's dunk contest or in-game, who's y'all's favorite dunker ever?
Selfishly, for me, it has to be DeMar, but that's heavy bias just because DeMar is one of, if not my favorite player of all time. So definitely DeMar.
I do love DeMar. Surprisingly, I really like Jason Richardson.
That's my guy. Jason Richardson's my favorite. Yeah, that's my favorite.
He was nasty. In game wise, LeBron has a lot of nice ones, of course. Like, I feel like you could say like LeBron and Kobe so easy. I feel like that's almost like it's like the cop out pick, but As a nice little underrated one, Jason Richardson or Sean Kemp. Sean Kemp, bro, just all
Sean
that
Kemp,
power. He like just dunking on somebody, pointing at him. Like that's disgusting. That's the most disrespectful thing in the history of this sport.
My favorite end game might be Blake Griffin. Because, bro, Clipper Blake Griffin, he was putting somebody on a poster every single night. Like, every night he played, it was a show. So, I got to show love to my guy, Blake, for sure.
They're fun games to watch.
Facts.
John Morant's my favorite almost dunker.
He's everyone's almost favorite dunker. I don't know how you can have anyone else.
Yeah, facts. But
all right, also, yeah, I was just about to say, Devin, I want you to start. Who's about to win this All-Star game? Who's taking home the MVP?
I got to find these rosters. I'm going to be honest. I don't have a clue what these rosters are looking like.
I really don't either. I'm not going to lie.
I'll tell you this. The GM has not lost yet. The Lakers made no trade deadline moves because the GM was too busy on this All-Star roster.
Yeah, he was too busy trying to get Harden to play with KD, and it didn't happen.
Nah, LeBron, he was a genius for that. In that draft, literally, the fact he knew KD wasn't going to take James Harden. So he could leave him till the very end, pick all the other best players he wanted, and then get like the third best reserve with or maybe even the first best reserve if he's at his best with like the last pick. The GM is real. That man, he can do everything except trade Russell Westbrook because ain't nobody want Russell Westbrook.
Hold up, did y'all hear? I don't know how true this is, but I was watching Through the Wire last night. And they basically said the Lakers had the opportunity to trade for John Wall and Christian Wood, and all they had to give up was like Westbrook and 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, I saw that report as well.
How do y'all feel about that? Real quick.
I mean, in one sense, it's like you are improving your team, so you would find it hard to believe they don't make that move. But at the same time, I don't know how well Christian Wood fits in that team either. John Wall's not a great fit. It's probably not that much of a fit improvement anyways. So, I don't know. If you're talking about giving up multiple firsts, if you knew that you were bringing in guys that were a good fit, maybe, but you're pretty much committing to AD having to play at the 4 then, which we know in the playoffs isn't always a great scenario for success. I don't really blame them for not pulling the trigger on that if that was actually on the table because they already screwed up on fit once. They probably didn't want to jump into a trade that looked bad for fit again.
I feel the same way. Couldn't say that any better.
They should have just taken it anyways. Like, I don't blame them for not, but I'm like, bro, at this point, just change the roster. Just make a change. Anthony Davis is hurt so often anyways. Christian Wood could, like, keep the front court afloat for a little bit. He just got hurt again anyways. So, like, I feel like it could help him out a little bit. And then Westbrook, I guess if like AD is down and he's a second option, maybe. I feel like the higher option Russell Westbrook is, the better he plays. So maybe he'll play a little bit better.
Westbrook is just it's like Westbrook to me is someone that makes, at this point in time in his career and for the last few years, is someone that makes like an okay to not great team good, but as a like third option on a good team just doesn't really help. Like you're better off with someone who isn't as talented who can play the role way better.
I've been saying that forever, and I kind of feel bad for Russ because this is just making him look like he's not a capable NBA player anymore. And it's just because the fit is just not good for him.
Some guys just aren't fit to play a certain role.
Yeah, I was trying to tell people last year, like Westbrook is just not – he's not who people really think he is. Like he's a good player, but he's not like that championship player that people think he is. And just because he gets, great stats and stuff, he's not that like you said, he's somebody that he'll raise your floor, but he's not raising your ceiling that much. That's exactly what he is.
But he's not in the All-Star game. So who's winning that MVP? Yeah.
Dare I say Andrew Wiggins to continue the the discussion and debate of Wiggins being as a starter? But no, in all reality, no. In all reality, I'm going with Giannis. I think Giannis is my guy.
That's the safe pick. That is just the safest pick.
I mean, you told me to predict. I'm taking my prediction.
He's the only one
If
who
someone's going to be
tries.
wrong, I'll let it be you guys.
He's the only one who tries, and he's on Team LeBron, which means we know he's winning the game.
And with his build, he's going to get all the fancy dunks. The fans are going to love it. They'll put in their votes. We know how it is.
You know who's winning All-Star MVP? Darius
You want me
Garland.
to? You got Darius Garland winning it?
I'm
The
just
thing with-
saying. He's on Team LeBron, so he's winning the game. That makes his chance higher. He'll probably get a ton of minutes because he plays for the Cavs and it's in Cleveland. That raises his chances. And he's got Jared Allen on the floor, which is his usual lob threat. Plus, he'll be on the court with Giannis because he's a playmaker. You get that playmaker all the All-Stars because, Chris Paul's on that team, but I don't expect Chris Paul to make a bunch of, I don't expect him to play a lot of minutes as, a veteran
even know
guy.
if
He'll
he's-
probably
I don't even know if he's playing. He has a
So,
thumb
yeah,
injury.
that's what I mean. But if he was playing, he wouldn't play a lot of minutes. I think Jimmy Butler's kind of the same way. DeMar could low-key put on a show, but I think he's more focused on, the regular season than the playoffs. Give me Darius Garland just because it's in Cleveland. I think we saw a similar thing with, Kemba Walker, with Anthony Davis. Usually that hometown person, they step up.
I'm trying to look up the last time a below-the-rim type of guard won the All-Star Game MVP. I want to say it was Chris Paul. Because I remember
I think
Westbrook won it one.
Chris Paul
Yeah, I
won,
think-
2013 or 14.
Paul won it in
2013,
13.
yeah.
Kyrie won it in 2014. So, those are the last guards that are, below-the-rim type dudes to win All-Star Game MVP.
Hey, the last one played for Cleveland.
True. It would take a lot. He would really have to rack up the points, the assists, the win, of course.
I just think he'll
And
have
had
that
some,
green light.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. That's a bold take, Gabe.
If Darius
gonna
Garland,
lie.
hey, you said Giannis was the safe pick. I'm going balls to the wall. Hey, if Darius Garland throws an alley-oop to LeBron James in Cleveland, Ohio during the All-Star game, that's going to be iconic. They're going to look at that
man.
picture forever. They're going to look at that picture forever.
Okay. You know what? I'm going with John Morant. Giannis is the safe pick. I'm going with John Morant. He's going to put on the show. He's probably going to have a lot of dunks. And we know Ja, he always goes 100 miles per hour no matter what. I think he's going to put on a show. He might drop 30 points, have a lot of highlight reel dunks. We might see some windmills. Maybe he pulls out of between the legs. He's going to have the highlights. It's just a matter of getting the win. I think that's
I was about to say, bro.
getting the win.
If you think Team Durant is about to win, hey it's a
all
prediction video. It's all about your opinion.
All
Which
great
is
things
kinda
have to come
crazy.
to an end. All great things have to come to an end, man. I can see Team LeBron losing. This is not LeBron's year, man. Lakers are struggling. He's getting older. Maybe
The
they
Rams
draft
said
that
no
well
to the
this year.
joint championship parade.
Did y'all see how dry that parade looked?
So dry.
Bengals
They don't got
deserved it.
fans. Hey,
Nah, man, but give me Ja. I think Ja's gonna win it, man. I'm driving the Ja, everything Ja positive. I'm driving that train right now.
To be fair, Josh should have a lot less near dunks in this game because I doubt there's going to be many guys contesting him at the rim like that. So
Yeah,
we might see a few special ones for sure.
I
that's
do
why
like.
he's not in the dunk contest. He's saving it for the real game.
Yeah, DeMar's an interesting one. I think DeMar could low key make a push. I'm not gonna lie.
If DeMar wants to pull back about 6 years and start leaping and dunking again, he's definitely got a shot.
Hey, first player with 7 straight 35-point games on 50% plus shooting. Shares that with Will Chamberlain.
Hey,
Shout
If
out
you
to
do any-
ESPN stats. But if you share anything with Will Chamberlain, I don't care how
big
specific it is.
things.
It's literally just a matter of, hey, you scored a lot of points efficiently for a long stretch. It might be an ESPN stat, but come on. He's on a tear.
Yes.
Hey, Will Chamberlain, he's a GOAT on and off the court. If you know, you know. So I'm gonna say.
Hey, that is Otto Porter's grandfather. That boy was a freak on the court, and as Giannis Antetokounmpo said best, and in these sheets.
Whoa, that man has to be a myth, bro. This man had waves in the 1960s. That guy Will's crazy, man. But I'm excited though. I think my the most happy thing about All-Star Weekend this year is that like fans are back. I think that's the greatest thing because last year it just felt so dry. It didn't really feel like it was All-Star Weekend. It just felt like they just did it because they had to, and it was just like But back to having fans, I'm excited. I think this is going to be a very good, skills challenge, Saturday night, and then I think the All-Star game is going to be pretty competitive, and John Morant's going to win MVP. That's just how I feel.
Definitely should be a good, exciting night. Be sure to let us know down below what you think about our predictions that were hopefully amazing, but likely probably not all that great. If you guys did enjoy the episode, be sure to leave a like down below, follow, subscribe. We appreciate you guys tuning in and watching the content. We'll be back again next week for another episode. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.